been to jail. I have been raped and beaten many times by men, heterosexual men that do not belong in the homosexual shelter. But do you do anything for them? No. You all tell me to go and hide my tail between my legs. I will not longer put up with this shit. I have been beaten. I have had my nose broken. I have been thrown in jail. I have lost my job. I have lost my apartment for gay liberation. And you all treat me this way? What the fuck's wrong with you all?
Ciao, my name is Ndii, and I'm the host of the Evolve Talk. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Evolve Talk. You are listening to the voice of Sylvia Rivera, a trans woman activist in the 1969 Stonewall riots. Well, it's an introduction to what exactly we will be talking about today. Today, we are talking about Pride. And every year during the month of June, the LGBTQR+ community celebrates in a number of different ways across the globe. Various events are held during this special month as a way of recognizing the influence of the LGBTQI+ people that we have around the world. Why was June chosen? Because it is when the Stonewall riots took place way back in 1969, as well as being a month long of celebration. Pride Month is also an opportunity to peacefully protest and raise political awareness of current issues facing the community. Well, this year, for obvious reasons, we could not do most of the parades and protests that we can, but obviously the internet has been one of the platforms that we have been using, and I've had interviews of which I'm taking you into interview with MonDee, Edwin, and Junior. I also have a snippet of an interview that will be released later with Ezra. Enjoy.
That we want acceptance, we want visibility, we want to be out, they want to be mainstreamed, whereas we don't want certain queer individuals, certain queer identities not to be mainstreamed as well. You know.
Hi.
How are you?
We good.
We're great. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to the House of Evolve.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start from MonDee. MonDee, how are you?
I'm fantastic. You know what? Thank you so much. My name is MonDee. I'm a filmmaker, writer, and presenter, and a queer activist, and I identify as a gay man.
Yes.
And it's an honor to get to be amongst you all.
No, that's beautiful. Edwin?
Oh, my name is Edwin. I'm a black trans man with a fluid personality, ready to engage into educational spaces like this one.
Yes.
And I'm great to be in this platform. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Junior?
Hi. I'm like a junior from
Hey.
doing Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting. I'm the founding director of I'm a Black Women Organization, and also the Univen LGBTI coordinator. Yeah.
Celebration and acceptance. Rainbow flags are hoisted high. Droves rush to parades, and LGBTQ+ identifying people allies adorn their best Pride regalia. But it's also a time to honor the people who have paved the way for gay rights activism like Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson. It would have been very nice, hey, to have such celebrations this year as well, but obviously for obvious reasons, actually, we can't go out and celebrate. But I also want to know from you guys, what does this Pride Month mean to each of you guys? We'll start from how you guys have introduced yourself every time we pose a question.
You know what? For me, Pride has always been such a great day for me to get to celebrate who I am, and to think that when it first began, it was somewhat of a protest, and it's actually I think it's amazing to look at how far we've come as a community and to be able to stand together. It's something that I don't take for granted.
Yeah.
And I think the more we start having conversations and the more we start engaging within the community, I think the wider we open the community and the more we allow ourselves to infiltrate into the heteronormative world. So I think for me, Pride is a time for celebration, but it's also a time to acknowledge the fact that we're still fighting certain battles today, and that we should not fail to acknowledge that.
True.
All
Edwin?
right. For me, Pride Month means it's basically a month where you embrace your authentic self. It gives you the sense of belonging and knowing that you don't just exist, and you have brothers and sisters that you coexist with, because we live in a world that is constantly reminding us that you're not anybody, you're not supposed to be, that is constantly boxing us. But to know that you have that can embrace something that you are with, that's magic. That's great. So Pride Month is important for us to embrace who we are and fully join the community that also agrees into who we are.
Junior?
As for me, Pride Month is a month whereby like one has to stand true to themselves, to be their true vision of themselves, and can embrace sexuality regardless of what we are facing in our daily lives. Yeah, I think
that's what Pride Month means to you. Well, I'm not sure if you guys know there is a difference between sexuality and gender identity. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, we did, definitely. I think a lot of the times a lot of people get so confused. And they don't understand the difference between the two. And even when you Google it, it doesn't give you such a defined answer.
Yeah.
I always look forward to hearing how people define it for me, because I feel like even the way that I define it for myself, it's still, I feel that I'm uncertain in some ways. So it'll be quite interesting to find out how you guys view it as well.
Define it. How do you define it yourself?
I think for me, sexuality is sexual orientation, and gender is what I've grown to understand as male and female, but that doesn't necessarily have to be binded within that binary. There's transgender, there's intersex, and so people
that's
don't
gender
understand.
Identity.
Yeah, that's gender identity. Okay. So that's the two difference that I see.
Okay, the others?
With me, I wouldn't say that I really took it into consideration to, like, now that you're talking about it, I'm starting to get the idea, because like you have trans people. I think that will be gender identity. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
trying to identify between the two genders, that will be a gender identity. But for sexuality, I think it's who you personally find attractive or who you want to date with. I'm not really sure, but that's what I'm thinking.
No, you're on the right. That's true.
Yeah. Okay, Juju.
Yeah. As for me, I think sexuality it's who you like. You are emotionally, physically, and sexually attracted to. Yes. And as for gender, it's like who you personally pursue yourself or see yourself as.
Okay. So from my point of view, sexuality, right, is who you're attracted to, as you guys have mentioned, like it's who you are attracted to. And gender identity has nothing to do with your sexuality. Actually, like a lot of people don't know that gender identity has nothing to do with your sexuality, because you could be a trans woman or a trans man. Let me give you a clear example. Yeah, let me a clear example. So
you identify as a trans man, right? It
Yeah.
means that you are coming from female to male.
Yeah.
And you are attracted to women.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes it doesn't mean that you just attracted. You can also be attracted to
To
men. I mean, you can be
men. I wanted to say men, actually, that you're attracted to men before you transition. So now when you transition, there's an expectation of that. Because you have transitioned to being male, now you have to be attracted to women.
True.
Yes.
True.
That's it.
So that is the misconception, OT, gender with gender and sexuality. That is what people actually don't understand most of the time.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you guys have an understanding of it, eh?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's really important. I think a lot of the times, I think the difficult thing is that we don't have the words in our own vernacular languages, and I think for me that's one thing that I wish we could find. We could start finding ways to have a language that people can understand in the African.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? What MonDee just said? Because I feel like that is something we need.
What he just said, like, yeah, it's really great. I think he said everything that we could have possibly said. I feel like he covered everything. That's why we were all nodding, like, yeah, all the time. So yeah.
So I want us to I want to take you to a moment in time wherein you had went through a discrimination for who you are. Do you remember any moments in time, or you could go back in time and just picture that time wherein you had to be discriminated just because of your sexuality or your gender identity?
You know, for me, you know how I even became the gay superhero, and people know me as the gay superhero, and all of that, and how I even came to that. It was from a very traumatic experience. I'm from a small town, and I lived outside a village, that small town in a small village called Kaulitsi village in Limpopo. And growing up in that community, you experience so much oppression. And this is largely due to the fact that people don't understand, or they've never been exposed to a person of that identity. It was very, very, very difficult for me, and I got bullied extensively to a point where I used to get beat up and harassed after school, and to a point where I wanted to take my own life. And I like sharing this story because I feel as though that when I share it, people will be able to relate to it, because it was a very traumatic experience for me to be able to experience what I experienced, but I was somehow able to turn that into light and say to myself, since when I grew up outside in a small town and I didn't have a gay superhero, I'm going to call myself the gay superhero, because hopefully somebody will be able to see me and they'll be able to identify with that, and they can say, I too am not alone.
I think that's visibility.
I think I'm next. Yeah, so like with me, I would say that gender identity has been very hard. It's not just an easy thing. Most of the time, people think that they confuse the two. So you appear as a transgender man or woman before the medical transition, and all people just see is maybe one of the people that are maybe gay, lesbian. They just see you as being part of those.
Between
so
the
you're
two.
not always finding spaces that are inclusive of who you are. Starting off first when you go to university, you go to male residences, female residences, and even the ones that are more like, you know what, we are accommodating you guys. They're not really accommodating. Like, it's like they are partially accommodating who you are. They're not really fully inclusive. It's like we are constantly faced with spaces that do not acknowledge that there is trans people, there is such people. So it's been a very hard journey for me. I don't think that I've ever came into a space whereby I will feel like, you know what, there's no discrimination. I don't have to explain myself forward. So like, so hard. It's so hard. It's been there in schools, it's been in universities, I think even in workplaces, but I'm not yet. I don't know. I'm not there yet. But yeah, it's been hard.
So you fear that it will happen also in the workplace?
I think so. Because the more we are like, the more silent voice. It's like people don't know that. It's like they don't think we exist. It's like it's a imagination thing. So if you come out as strong, people gonna think of you as either of the sexual orientations that are already there, with how people prefer women, with how people
The ones
prefer
that are
men.
visible.
Yeah. So it's really hard to exist in a place whereby you do not assume you are not as an existing person. You understand? It's really hard.
Junior,
AA.
a moment in time wherein you faced discrimination. I think we lost you at some time.
Yeah. It's the year 2013. I really can't forget that year. It was at school or in class. Like, I really thank that teacher for what he has done to me, because like he made me to be the better version of myself today. He made me to be proud of myself. Because the thing that used to happen in class, like he was the mathematics teacher. He used to give us day in day out saving them, and then the day, like he will ask three people to come and write their answers on the board, and there will be a portion for guys and a portion for girls, and a portion for those who don't, and for portion of those who don't know themselves. And I was the only guy in class, so that made like it was something to kind of like humiliate me.
Oh my God.
But
Wow.
little did he know that he's not me, but he's building me. That's why today I'm the best and better version of myself than I was before.
So
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
no, that's really good. How did you feel at that time when that was happening to you?
At that time it was hard. Seriously, it was hard, because I think I even have to start to have the suicidal thoughts of just taking myself, because like it was hard to kind of like take the pain that I was enduring in class day in day out.
I think as people in the LGBTQ community, we go through the most, especially from places wherein the visibility is not that as much, because you become the
Yes.
first person that they get to see most of the TV, and now when they have to see it like in real life, they're like, oh, okay, we don't really understand what's going on with you. For me, I think it was mostly when I had to be in varsity, because varsity they put you in boxes, rather, like there's a male residence, there's a female residence, so you find yourself in the residence that you do not affirm as. And now when you have to say, no, I actually don't belong here, I'm this, they don't understand that. Understand? So I had to even go through rape at some point because of staying in a place where I don't affirm.
Wow.
So that is
wow.
I had to go
That's
through rape
heartbreaking.
two times in the residence, where I was supposed to feel safe, but I could not feel safe because I just didn't affirm. And people around that place, because I literally I transitioned at school. Like I started transitioning at school, because when I was home, I didn't understand anything about transgenderism or anything about. So when I left to varsity, that's the only place I was like, okay, I think there's like I relate to a lot of people. I relate to when I started speaking to people, I was like, okay, this is something I relate with. This is something I relate with. So that's when I started opening my eyes, and that's when things started to change. But now it was too late, sort of, because I was already assigned in a male residence. So it was already hard to say that, oh, like we tried to say, okay, now this person is transitioning, and hi, it was just a fight that we did not win, but yeah, we tried.
And I think I appreciate the fact that you were fighting, and you were able to stand up for yourself. I think sometimes not everybody has the courage to be able to stand up for themselves like the move that you did. So I appreciate and I commend you for being able to stand up for yourself in the way that you did, because you become a representation for other people that were unable to.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I love this quote by Dominic Jackson. She said, I will never ask any of you for respect. she said, I will demand it. I will not tell you will not tell me that you accept me. You will not tell me that you tolerate me. That is not your power. And I take that from you. You will
Yeah.
respect me for who I am. I was like, yes, girl.
I
It's
I saw
really
that video and I
powerful.
loved
It's
it so
really
much.
powerful.
I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm living for that quote because wow, we are out here wanting acceptance from everyone, but it's not their power. Let's not
It's
give this.
not really their power.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not really their
It's
So
power.
not.
I really love that quote.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for you to be black and queer? What does it mean to be black and queer?
To be black and queer means to be powerful, to be strong, to be resilient,
Mm,
to be confident, regardless of all the things that you face along the way, because there are so many structures within the
Yeah.
upbringing of a queer black child.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
There are so many things that you have to deal with. If it's not culture, if it's not religion, it's the system.
Yeah.
And
mm,
to be able to defy the odds, I simply think being black and queer is being resilient, being powerful, and truly defying the odds.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
You know what? I would just say he finished it all because, like, what
Mm,
he was just saying, it was part of things that I wanted to say because, when you think about being queer and black, sorry, it's about you being in the survival fit. Like,
mm,
you must know that you must survive because it's not easy for you. You must know that you need
Yes.
not only just fighting a fight against you identifying who you are and being accepted, you
mm.
also fighting stuff like, if you see in America Black Lives Matter, and then you know that you are previously disadvantaged, especially if, let's say, you are in the gender identity road,
Yes.
paying for your medical transitions and everything, it's gonna be hard for you. And
Mm,
given that there are people that don't even understand you for who you are, so it's really just being brave, being bold, knowing that
mm,
you're going to survive this world. So like
mm.
it's what I can say. Like he said it all, honestly speaking.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
well, well. In this house, ne, what the rules of this house? We need to ask each other our pronouns. It's very important to not misgender or use
Yes,
the
definitely.
wrong pronouns. So I think it was something that we should have actually started with. Or what's your
Yeah.
pronoun, so
Okay.
that when we communicate, we know how to to communicate with each other effectively. So I am
All right.
she, right? She or her.
Okay.
Okay, Edwin.
Okay.
I, I am he and him.
Okay.
I am he.
Yes.
I am he. I'm
Okay.
he.
Okay. Junior.
Okay.
And then I don't confirm to gender norms, but I refer to me using my name.
Oh wow, I
So
love
it's
that.
only
I
for
love
your
Okay.
that.
You should
name.
use your name,
Yeah,
Junior.
I love
better
that.
use my
All
name.
right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I love that.
All right, Junior.
That's great. What does it mean to be black and queer, Junior?
Oh, like seriously, you guys have said it all. Seriously,
Mm,
because like being black and being queer, like it's being the best version of yourself when like it's hard to be one. It's
mm,
being able to raise your head up when it's hard to do
mm,
so. Yeah, like you guys
yeah.
have said it all. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's really hard in the community we're in already. Like being black on its own, it's hard. Like being black on its own
Yeah.
without including being part of the LGBTQ community, it's hard on its own. But now being black and on top of that having another struggle, I feel like it's it's just too much. It's just a lot that needs to happen, and you come out very strong because it's the survival of the fittest. Just like how you guys are saying it, it's surviving and surviving and surviving. You learn to survive. You learn you learn a lot of stuff along your journey, man. Just by
Yeah.
all these things that are happening around you. And
Yeah.
do you guys think that there is enough information about the LGBTQ community? I think maybe we can take it back to when you were growing. Do you think there was enough information for you to actually know that, oh, this is what I probably relate with, or this is who I see myself as?
You know what, there wasn't, and that's the hurtful part about it. It's like not even life orientation had representation that represented me.
Yeah.
And you know, being a small town boy and a small town gay boy and trying to find that, and being a village gay boy and trying to find that identity and that representation, and not finding it can really set you on a path where you're trying to find yourself.
Yeah.
And that can be really, really difficult. So, and I think when I think about my childhood, I try to trace how different I was. I remember this one time I was just playing. She caught me, and I remember how embarrassed. Curious about my identity, and I was trying to figure out different ways to express it, and I didn't know how to, because there wasn't any kind of information that I had access to, and technology wasn't easily accessible at that time. So there were so many challenges that I faced along the way, and to be able to have come this far in my life, and it's something that I don't take for granted. And I think it's disheartening when you think about it now.
Well, I don't think there is information at all with reference to my case. I think I had to get myself where I am today. I feel like information, even if there is, it's not easily accessible, like he said. I mean, coming from rural areas, you know nothing about trans people, about whoever. You don't know nothing. You're constantly being taught against you, against who you are. The only information you're getting is about hating who you are. So literally any positive information about nurturing who you are, making you who you are, and being accepting of yourself, it's not there. You do not even have, you're faced with realities that are not really representing you. Like it's you growing up maybe in a church, or growing up in a family that is religious, and really talking about such is none of the things that they really want to encourage. And sometimes it's who you are. So I feel like it's not really there.
Did you have anyone that you looked up to, like from your gender identity while growing up?
No, I didn't. The first person that I started seeing, I don't know if you guys know of that. There was a third degree, and then they invited a trans man. But I almost thought that was impossible. I thought, what belief that comes from a TV, you know? So it was more of something that I took, like, you know, it can never happen. I'm stuck here.
Yeah, but it grew on you.
Yeah. But the only time where I became aware was when I first met the first trans man here in Bloemfontein, which was Tom Klopper. That guy was the one that was able to teach me a lot that I didn't know about. And it was by chance because I found his stuff on Facebook. But yeah, it was by chance.
Okay. Junior?
Oh yeah, like as for me, I'm just gonna say like when growing up, seriously, like there was no information about LGBT at all, because like we were left there to just figure out ourselves. Because even in the life orientation subjects where like they have to teach about gender, they will only refer to male and female, only that, and leave other gender aspects aside. And then when we go to the religious part, we'll be told to condemn condemn this and this and this and this, and only recognize male and female, only that.
While growing up, do you also have someone that you look up to in your sexuality or your gender identity?
Nope. When growing up, there was no one that I was looking up to. Like it was just me and myself, and trying to figure out like what's going on with me. Yeah.
I guess it becomes confusing when you just don't have point of reference. Like you just can't reference anything from anywhere. You can't say, okay, this is what I'm mostly relating with.
Yeah.
I think another thing is that, like, especially in the rural areas, me and Junior last year we had this other what is that? It was a seminar, an LGBTQ seminar. Yeah. So hearing the stories from most of the LGBTQI people from the rural areas, most of them don't really have information about themselves, and it becomes hard. We find some of them are actually trans men or trans women, but they'll rather identify with being gay or being lesbian because that is
Or being lesbian, yes.
because that is what's available to them. But when they get information, because we're speaking to this other other trans man, before then he didn't realize what his gender identity was. But then we spoke, he was like, okay, I'm interested to find out what exactly is this whole trans man thing. Then we were like, okay, this is what happens, and this is this. He was like, you know what, I think this is actually me, because I just didn't know how to identify myself, and I didn't have anyone that I can look up to. Everyone that I see, or people that is being shown, like things that are point of reference, it's either it's gay or it's lesbian, and there's no other information around what the other stuff that are there, or other sexuality or gender identity that are available or that are there.
And again,
I don't know.
reference to like people getting enough information, I feel like it also is about how open people are. The openness is not really easy for us, the LGBTQ plus community, because you're facing stuff like rejection from the society, and also even brutalities that lead to your life in danger. So I feel like been the issues that we do not have so much information. People are trying to protect themselves, really, especially trans men that will not really expose who they are or even talk about their journeys, because of they don't want to fall part of what is happening currently, the reactions against trans people and all.
This is really interesting. So you're diving into now representation, right? We're trying to find out, because the main representation that we can actually say that, okay, this is where we draw a representation. I mean, we draw inspiration, we draw a lot of stuff. Is media. Like, media builds us, and every time, every day, media is just there. So it builds our character, it gives us information, everything. So I'm really glad that we have MonDee. MonDee here is a media personality, and I think you would be better matched to explore this with us about how the media has been portraying us. And is it enough so far? And what can we do to actually ensure that information is taken out? I think I don't remember which year it was. The first gay scene was on Generations. People were furious.
Yeah.
People were furious. Catch all the tea after the break. Child, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make podcasts. Let me explain to you. First of all, it's free. There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. This is where I'm doing it from. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimal listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Yo, what a throwback. I remember I was so young then when it happened.
Which year was that?
It was so early. It was like, it was the old generations before Legacy.
Yes, definitely.
I think.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, you know what? I this is for me something that I'm so passionate about, and it's something that I am fighting for every day of my life. and it's not easy because, you know, I'm a young upcoming creator.
Yeah.
I now currently own a production company which has a queer mandate focus.
Wow.
So
Great,
that's,
amazing.
you know, that's what I'm trying to do. And but the tough thing is that convincing people in the higher positions to be able to open up the way and start having these conversations, that becomes the challenging part. I mean, when you look at a show like Disclosure, which came out on Netflix recently, I got to watch that and I got to see it and I got so emotional. But because but it also allowed me to look at the comparison of the South African media industry and the American media. The American media industry progressive in a sense that they've allowed stories to be told, you know, even though they've not been told in the most authentic way possible, but they were able to allow stories to be told, and in that way created some kind of visibility. And but when I look at South Africa and how far we've come, South Africa is still not, it hasn't even still opened up to the gay characters. You know, gay characters are still the side character and the supporting character, and they never it's never centered around them. So we're still fighting so many of those issues. And I think for me as a young upcoming writer and a creator and somebody who has started his own production company with a queer mandate, that's something that I want to change and elevate. But the powers that be become very, very, very hesitant to be able to explore that. But I think if we then start having conversations like this, we can open up that conversation. And I think what we can do is to start engaging and being proactive and start saying, and start encouraging each other. I think one thing I've loved doing is that I've connected my community. I will call, like, you know, my trans friends, and I will call them together and I'll be like, hey, listen, I will take you through an acting lesson. I will put you through these programs. I will put you through these things so that you too can empower yourself. And one thing that I've also seen is that in me being in the media industry, I also want to make sure that in me being in the forefront as a gay man, that I don't silence the trans women that are fighting and the trans men that are fighting. And, you know, that's one thing that I want to also make sure. And it's like, I want to empower them by employing them as well under my production company and making sure that when these stories are told, that they're also in the front line.
Beautiful.
That was really powerful. I don't think there's anything else to say rather than we can say that who can tell our story best more than we can. I mean, he spoke about something like South Africa has not casted any gay people. Like it has maybe then there as supporting, like he said, but who can tell our stories as much as we can? We do exist, and we must be visible in these platforms like he is right now. And we need to tell our stories. They need to know that we exist. What we learned from Disclosure Game is, yes, it did kind of like tell the stories, but again, I will come from a different point on how the stories were told. I didn't really like how it affected. I feel like it's the root of all the violences that we see against, like today, that the violences that we see today, that's the root of everything that is happening right now. Because, like, if you think about it, we see people that are literally raping trans men, and they on that movie Boys Don't Cry, we see it happening. So you are building an image for someone, you are painting a picture to society of how to react towards these people. Maybe a different narrative will help, you know, like when you look around, it shows, makes you learn about where did it come from, like why is it like this today. So I really love watching. I'm not gonna add too much, but yeah, that's where I would stand.
Yeah, I love that.
Junior?
I'm speechless. I really don't know what to say. Seriously, like, you guys have covered it all. Like,
I'll just ask you guys, like, when the first gay scene that happened on Generations that year, I don't remember which year it was. How did you feel? Wait, who were you with? Were you with your family? Like, how did you feel about?
Ted, you know, I was with my family. Yeah, I was with my family.
Definitely.
Definitely. Because you know what? One thing about Black people, we're so close knit. We watch TV together. We eat together.
Yes.
You know, we're very communal in our experiences. Yes. So I remember fondly. I was watching it with my family. And we, there was a lot of eyes looking around, to see how we all would react. And I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, wow, there is somebody out there who feels the way that I feel inside, even though I couldn't explain it at the time, So I understood. I think then that's what made me really understand the power of media. That's when I was like, okay, media really can serve a purpose to elevate a community. It can serve a purpose to share stories and to transcend. And I think for me, my journey is yet beginning, but I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out, in a sense that I will be able to empower those that never were given a platform before. So I'm very, very excited to see. I think for me to be able, the South African media industry is growing, and I think it's starting to feel more pressure because of the streaming platforms that are coming in. Because they're now spreading the audience a bit wider, and they're allowing African content to be seen by the world. So it's time. It's time that we told trans stories of trans experiences, and we gave them the ability to be able to be in these rooms to have the conversations. So I definitely propagate that, and that's something that I'm forefronting, and I hope that people will be able to see that.
Well, I have to say, when I was listening to what he was saying, I was like going like, okay, that's my experience, because like,
Edwin, you're relating. I can hear you. You are relating. Like,
I'm so glad you are. Oh my God.
So when I was watching it, I was with my family. It was a family time. My dad was a priest at that time, so it was an awkward
Mine too. Oh my gosh.
It was more of that please pass, no comment, and it was not really like something that they were into it that much, because they were condemning it rather than like giving life to something new, being like, okay, this is new, but let's learn. It was not more like that. They were just more condemning it, and it was just an awkward moment for me, knowing that, okay, I'm trans. Yeah, it was more like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. that was
Juju?
really
The first episode that I saw, like, with the family, it was something else. Because, like, seriously, when that part came in or pops to the screen, like,
They actually, I think they kissed on the first scene. They
did. Woo.
It was the last scene. I remember very well. It was the last scene, and then they kissed, and then the show ended.
And yes, and then everybody, like, they were quiet and they all looked at me.
And the deep thing is that
you have to say something.
Yeah, literally. And you know what? Social media was not even around at that time.
Oh my gosh.
People the next day were talking about it on the streets, it was like in a taxi rank, everywhere, it was like, wow,
like, whew.
We've come a long way. I will tell you this, in media, we have come a long way, but we also still have a long way to go, especially in the African context, There's so many battles. I mean, South Africa, when you think about South Africa at large, it's still predominantly very conservative, very highly influenced by culture and religion. And I think when we start infiltrating those spaces and allowing people to still be themselves within culture and within religion, it really can allow us to grow and say there's nothing wrong with people of trans experience. There's nothing wrong with people that are gay, even if they identify themselves within religion and within culture. And I believe that in order for these things to happen, they have to grow and they have to develop so that they can grow with its people. So these are hard conversations. I won't lie. Like, even now to this day, my parents are still warming up to the idea of me being gay. It's still a hard conversation. They're hoping that they'll pray it away somehow. But I relate.
I'm sure it's that thing that, if you go to them like, you know what, I've changed. They'll be so excited.
They'll be so happy. Yes, you have changed. Oh my God, you're gonna get married to a woman. It's gonna be amazing. Literally, I promise you. Literally, they just think, wow, hallelujah, we've been praying. And I'm like, you need to stop praying for me to be straight, because it's not going to happen.
Exactly. That's what I told my grandmother.
Yeah, I mean, I fought so many battles, and there's no way that I could go back on this thing now.
So this new Netflix new documentary, I had some of you guys talking about it, Disclosure. I've watched it and I related a lot with it, and I was like, yes. When I was watching, I was like, yes, and emotional at some parts as well. So we just want to like just to explore, what happened there, and maybe take it to a South African context as well, or an African context. And yeah, like, what do you guys think when you watched this movie? This documentary, Disclosure.
I watched Disclosure with my best friend, and we both sat there and we started talking, and I was like, yo, this is so important and so needed at the moment, and I sent the link and I shared it with like people in my life and people that are in my industry, and I was like, have a look at this, have an understanding, start opening your mind to the idea of what we're talking about when we talk about representation, that it's not just a person, and as much as I come from an acting background and I'm someone who's an actor, I understand what it's like to be an actor, but at the same time, as a storyteller, I understand my power in that, and say, if I'm going to write a story, I must make sure that it represents these people and it represents it in the most authentic way possible. My film, it also made me think about my film, Feminine Lotus, which recently came out, which was about a trans woman. And there was a lot of teaching that happened in the makings of that show, of that film. Where conversations were had, and I was constantly telling people that these are people that live in society, and these are the experiences, and this is what they have to go through. And it's very important for us to ensure that we do it in the most authentic way possible. And that becomes hard for people that have never been opened to it, especially in the African context. And I always say to them, it's like, open your mind, unlearn the things that you have been taught. Because we were taught to fit into these constructs that told us that the only way we could survive into this heteronormative world is if we fit into it.
Yeah. I think I want to hear Junior's voice, so I'm going to keep quiet.
Junior's too quiet. Junior.
Wow. Like, guys, to be honest, like, you guys, it's like you're taking the words out of my mouth. So that's like I'm not talking a lot. I'm just busy. If ever like you could see me, like you'll see like I'm nodding my head left, right, and center, like.
No, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, it's good if you all enjoying the conversation. That was what I was taking out. So with me, I feel like MonDee is taking everything, guys. I feel like
you need to understand, MonDee is in this industry, so he knows it much better. I believe that he's shedding a lot of light. He's shedding a lot of light.
It's like you run out of things to say, like. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Just knowing with MonDee being around, you're just gonna know all the time without having anything to say. But I feel like what is important that I have learned is really, 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 we are taking control. We are moving on. We might have not been in the Marshall P state there. We have moved on where we used to be, right? And we see, even the documentary, was it written by Lavin? I'm not sure.
Yes. She executive produced it. Yes.
Is it? I didn't know about that.
Because I found that great because, like, it shows that even this might feel like silent moves, but the next generation is going to live in a much better world than we did, and we see changes, and we are visible, and we are going to be heard as time goes on. So I'm really happy seeing there. I never thought at one point that I would be able to watch such documentary in my entire lifetime, whereby I get our own people telling our own stories and experiences, and see them being successful. You never think that of yourself, especially if you're queer and then you don't know yourself, you are not being accepted. It's like, it's not an easy thing as another person will think, oh, I'm going to be like this, I'm going to be like this. You don't just easily, because you're not really seeing your realities anywhere. So I feel like it was a great experience for me too.
I also love the fact that on the documentary there was also trans men represented on that.
And and we don't see, I love the fact that they even mentioned that we don't see enough of it. And
Yeah.
I was like, yes, that's so true. We don't see enough of it. We just automatically just let it, we don't see enough visibility created with that. I think we need more of that. We definitely do. I agree. I agree. I agree.
So how do you think we can change the narrative of the LGBTQI plus in media, especially in our country? Now let's come to our country. I think in our country it's also hard as well to find, we have not find maybe a trans man or a trans woman playing that role.
Yes.
So how now can we change that narrative? Because I feel like it's powerful, as I have explained on the series.
I think yes.
Yeah. You can speak.
I wanted to say that, like, I really think that we need to be proactive. And I think a lot of the times the more conversations we have, the better. But at the same time, I've also tried as much as I can, as somebody who is in the industry, to be more proactive and to try and engage. So whenever I can call up a trans person, I have a lot of connections within my community.
Yeah.
So whenever I find out about certain projects that are being made, I'm like, please contact this person. Please speak to this person. Please, and I realize this, we're very connected more than we realize.
Yeah.
Actually.
Within the media industry, we're in many facets within the media industry. You'll find that my friend works for a particular radio station. So when we come together to create that visibility within those spaces, that is how we can really start to make this change be seen and be visible. And that for me is important and significant. So let's use one another and work with each other to really create a better and a more visible society within within the community.
Wow. Wow. And then you expect to say something after that.
I'm sorry. I'm just so passionate. I'm just so passionate about
we can tell.
Not bad. I love it. I'm not having a problem with it. It's really great. I don't have a problem with it. Really, I feel like we need to paint a different picture. Right. We have media, and we know media has power these days. I mean, over the years. So, like, I feel like what MonDee said previously about us, like, taking over, like, let there be trans roles, let there be educational stuff that we do ourselves. I feel like that can help change where we are right now.
Yeah, and you know what? It also what really happens is that we need to not only. I think sometimes people think about media in just as television.
Yeah.
Don't think of media just as television. Think about media as the radio shows that you listen to. Those. You remember those little small stories that we hear on, like a Thobela FM or a Motsweding, or when you hear those are very important, significant stories. We need to make sure that we infiltrate those spaces in terms of media, because that is how we can start spreading like a spider web and reaching the people that we need to reach.
Junior, what would you like to change? What would you like to change in the media?
Like, the thing that I'd like it to be changed, like, it's like the way they portray us, like, let them, like, use the people whom are in the compartment. They should stop using, like, outsourcing people. They may, like, start using the people in the compartment, because they are the ones who can portray us well, and they are the ones who know what we are going through a lot. Because like you can't expect someone who's homophobic out there to come and play the role and portray it well.
Very true.
Very true. Because like the way that they portray it in media, like, it makes our parents here at home to kind of like say, like, you see, that's how you guys do things. That's how you guys do act. Or you kind of like to exaggerate things. Whereas, like, we don't usually exaggerate. It's just that the people who are playing the parts are the ones who are exaggerating, since they're not in the compartment.
Very true. And look, I also think it's partly the responsibility also lies within the writers as well, to also ensure that, like, the way in which that the message is being relayed, that it's also important in that regard, and that it has the true essence of it, and it's able to translate to people.
I think one thing I also took from Disclosure it's the trans roles. Another
Yeah.
trans lady was saying that the fact that you see someone else playing a trans role who is not
Yeah.
the trans,
Mm-hmm.
or a feminine gay role. Let me just give an example because I don't remember quite that role was, but this guy is a
Yes.
cisgender, but he was playing a feminine or transgender role,
Well,
and
remember
it
remember
paints
that.
out a wrong image because now he's going to become a real person, like he's going to leave set, right? And people are going to
Yes,
meet
he's
him
going
as
to
a real
leave.
person. Yeah. So when people meet him as a
Yes.
real person, they're like, okay, now we're not sure whether it really exists because what we saw on TV is not the same as what we see in real life.
Yeah,
So
Yes.
which really adds up to the things that are happening in America with people using the bathrooms. They just say that trans women are just women in wigs, and you won't blame it if you think about it now. When you talk about that guy who's a cis person portraying a trans woman, why wouldn't they think that if in real life they can meet that? You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because now you're gonna see the person, like people who don't understand, they're gonna see the person in real life and they say, oh, okay, this person is a cis man or is masculine, but on that film or on that movie or on that series, they were portraying a certain role. So it becomes
Yeah.
hard for actually people to understand and follow
Yes.
what you are trying to
Yes.
put out. It makes hard for people to follow your message and what you're trying to say.
And I also think that, because also acting is an art form, I think that the debate often comes from, it's acting and it should be this and I also think, we need to start opening up in terms of schooling as well, in terms of
Yeah.
allowing people,
Yeah.
once you've identified with yourself and you go and you study the art form of acting as a trans person, that then empowers you as well,
Yeah.
because now you went to university and you have the art form and you've mastered it and you're able to apply yourself in that way, because as much as you this is your lived experience, you also want to be able to play many different types of
Wow.
roles
Wow.
within the trans experience, because the trans experience is not only just linear, there's many facets of it.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's really
Yeah.
powerful. So let's move away from that. I think we were like in it. I feel like
Yeah.
this could just be a whole topic
Passion.
on its own. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a whole topic on its own. Let's discuss heteronormativity in the LGBTQI community. Well, heteronormativity is the belief that heterosexuality predicted on the gender binary is the norm or default sexual orientation. It assumes that sexual and marital relations are most fitting between people of opposite sex. So, how would you guys explain? Explain heteronormativity in the LGBTQ community. Do we affirm to it? Should we actually affirm to heteronormativity? What must happen? Because now people are confused. As a gay man, there's like issues. I don't know with okay, I
Yeah.
probably know some because I probably was there at some point. So with gays, you find that if you're feminine, your gender
Yes.
expression is feminine. You find that the other one whose gender expression is masculine, you are supposed to be the woman, right? You're supposed to be the wife, sort of, and is the husband. So do you think that is because it's something that we take from the norm, like
Yes,
in
from
our
the
world,
hetero.
yeah, the heteronormative world. So do you think how can you go around that? How do we?
It's so difficult. I will start by saying, like, it's so difficult because everything around you that you are exposed to is heteronormative. And we are trying to break those constructs and move away from that, which requires a lot of unlearning. Because when we were growing up, you were told this is this and this is that and this is that, and when you went to the toilet, you saw that little man at the top and that little woman with a skirt at the top, and these were the images that you were constantly exposed to, and it was your everyday concept, and it becomes uneasy to try and unlearn that. But I think it's very important to define your own type of queerness.
Yeah.
That is the only way you can move away from that heteronormativity, because you can be a queer person that wants to get married but doesn't necessarily want to affirm to the gender roles. So, so those are the different types of things you can make I think as queer people, we have that freedom to define it for ourselves. We have that freedom to be able to form a new path for ourselves, to form a new jargon that we can say, this is how, whatever. Because society is always trying to put us in boxes. It's always trying to define us. It's always trying, you have to be this in order for you to make sense into in the system we've created. So the only way that you can do that is if you ensure that you don't try to fit into those constructs. You define it for yourself, whether that be that you want to be married, or you want to embody a more feminine gender expression, or a more masculine gender expression, and that works for you. It can work for you. It's just a matter of saying, this is what I am, and I define it for myself, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
True.
I just have to say I agree this time, because I don't feel like there's nothing that I can add on this. I mean, he mentioned very powerful points that I don't think they need to be outbolden or something like that. I feel like I agree with everything that he said about this thing.
Well, do you think as probably someone who identifies as trans men, do you think they have privilege, they have male privilege when they have transitioned? Because I think that is one of the conversations that people have been having lately, that as a trans man, do you now inherit the privileges of cis-het men or male?
Where? That's the first question I have. Where do you get the privileges? I mean, you live being a trans man. You are constantly reminded of who you were. You understand? You are the one who is taking bold of yourself and saying that, okay, this is who I am now. But in society, so they will always regard you as the person that you were always. You understand?
Okay.
But
especially
how
people who knew you before.
Yeah, how you choose to be like, let's say, I really think that it's really up to you and your partner. I don't think that I would love to take the male privileges and be like, you cook, you do this, you do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do that for my partner. I feel like I would just let it be the way that we want it to be, regardless of the gender norms that have been there. So I don't think that I'm really kind of like enlightened in that sense.
Juju?
Hello? Like, seriously, I don't have anything to say. Like, you guys have said it all. Like, seriously, like, all that has to be said. Because, like, even as for me, like, I've got that thing. I usually tell people a lot. Because, last year I was dating this other guy, and I was staying with him in the room on campus. So people used to ask me, why do you guys, when you go and do laundry, you do laundry together? Why don't you, Junior, because you're feminine, why don't you do laundry alone? And I used to tell them, like, no, guys, like, what who we are, it's not like we've transformed or we've moved from our sexualities. Yes, like, I'm feminine. That doesn't mean that, like, I'm hetero female, meaning that I have to do laundry for my men, I have to do everything for my men. Like, what we guys have agreed on doing is that, like, we share the duties, we help each other. Yes.
Well, I think it's something that has been happening. When we look at in our community, there's a whole feminine and masculine thing going on, especially in the gay community. There's an app that, gay people can find each other, or we can call it hookup. In that app, it's quite problematic because you'd find some people writing no fam, no fat, such things. So what do you guys think about that? I think maybe, I don't know. What do you guys, if you've seen such things, what do you think about people discriminating feminine people in the gay context? Like, there are feminine gay people, and there is a whole lot of discrimination that comes with being feminine in the whole gay community. So what's your thoughts around that?
I have no idea, I have to say. So I have to get people that can actually say something, say something.
Okay. As for me, like I've kind of like came across such, and when I tend to do my research or do my homework, I find that like most of the people who tend to write those things or to say like no femmes, not are like feminine people, ne? There are people who most of them they're still in the closet, and they're still in the way of finding themselves or to find the best way.
Ooh, for the spirit of Pride Month, to all the LGBTQI plus community listening out there, you know, there's a lot of issues internally that we need to deal with before we fight the bigger system. Because now, if you can check, the bigger system, yes, is being fought, but at the end of the day, it's still a certain group of queer people that are being, sort of, I don't want to say accepted, but sort of mainstream, So it becomes a problem. What we need to do as queer people, and this is to everybody listening out there, we need to start dealing with our internal issues first. Internal issues, be it that there's internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia, you know what I mean? How do we say that we want acceptance, we want visibility, we want to be out, they want to be mainstreamed, whereas we don't want certain queer individuals, certain queer identities not to be mainstreamed as well. You know what I mean? The likes of queer men, the queer woman, trans women, trans men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, I was listening to the conversation a bit there. I did get the part on the whole femme and butch thing, and I think you know what, I think sometimes people hide under the idea of the fact that it's preference, because it enforces their toxic what do they call internal homophobia. Yes, it enforces toxic internal homophobia. Sometimes when you are and I love what Thingy said there, that sometimes when you are still on a journey of self-discovery, there's so many things that you're going through. So you're trying to find the slightest possible way to say, I identify with this more than I identify with this, but how do I say that I identify? So it's while you're trying to figure yourself out, I also think that it kind of come up with certain jargon that can be able to articulate how a person feels about a particular attraction. Sometimes I feel like people do hide behind those notions and those words. They hide their internal homophobia, and it can be quite a dangerous thing to do. Yeah.
So I think what you're saying, are you for people that say, okay, I just prefer? Do you think it's a good thing to actually put it out there and write it on that app and say that no fam, no what, no what? Even though you prefer a certain, because obviously I believe that everyone has a preference, but
I think so.
My fighters, do you have to put it out there like that?
You know what? I think people are entitled to their own way of expression, because it's like trying to say someone, oh no, you can't say you like what you like, because the moment you say that to somebody, you just make them angry and they feel like, oh, you're not understanding them and you're not opening up to who they are. The problem only lies when they try to enforce that on other people. You can say that that's your preference, but don't enforce that on other people. Don't say that, oh no, just because you're masculine, you're better, or no, just because I don't like feminine people. That's when it becomes problematic. When you use it to push a certain political notion or a political statement, then that's where the problem lies in. Don't use it to push a very, very, very violent notion. That can be very harmful.
I agree.
So what are other issues that exist in the LGBTQI plus community, and how do we tackle them? What are other issues that you guys witnessed or have identified in the LGBTQI plus community?
I think it's I think it's a division.
Exactly.
It's the division. I feel like there's so much I just think, just because we have these categories and we have these different identities within us, we shouldn't allow for division to happen. Like I think I'm always fighting for the division. I think I also understand partly it's because we all experience different traumas from our different types of upbringings. But let us not be divided. I think when we try to say, oh no, just because I'm trans, I'm fighting for my just trans life, and you are gay, you can't fight for whatever. Yeah, you know, and it's like, let's not divide ourselves. Let's understand that we are a marginal community, and we are fighting to be heard and to be seen, and that should be our common goal. And although our differences differ, I mean our experiences are different, we should fight for a common goal, and that is to be visible and to be seen and to be heard and to know that we exist and we matter, you know. So let's move away from the division. I think that's one thing that I've noticed that has really that can hinder us from actually getting to know each other and love each other and be one.
Edwin?
More or less, that's you had me saying exactly. So like I think I feel like the division is playing a huge role in divide and conquer rule. So like it's really playing a role in us not being able to pass through a smooth path, because we are having hate amongst us. So like I feel like we need to know that we are one. For as much as society, we are a very small proportion of society. I mean, it's hard to find a gay person, like a lot of a high population of gay people in any space. So dividing ourselves within ourselves and hating ourselves as a community, it's not really a good thing to be looking forward to, especially if you need a home that is for us and that is embracing us. So I feel like, he has mentioned a lot of things that major problem. And besides also information asymmetries, I mean, like there's lack of information. I feel like when he mentioned that he was the superhero gay, and he was coming from a rural area. I know the struggle. I know how it's like to be coming out of a place that has no experiences of such, and they don't know such. It's more like you are living your imagination, really, and you have nowhere to look up to. It's like you are against who you are most of the time. You have to learn how to not be who you are in a space whereby you could have possibly known that there is someone like you living the same experiences like you to help you go on, you know.
Juju?
There's nothing I can say, like, because it's all revolves around division.
Like, in a rural context, what do you think are the issues? Since you're based in the rural area, what is the issues that you think that we still have that should be actually tackled?
Like it's the issue of information, because like people in the rural areas lack information. Yes, there are some who are ignorant, but there are some who, like, seriously, they don't have information at all. Yes, because like you can't expect someone who grew up in with like during the era of their era of growing up, there was no that like people of LGBT community, like they were not allowed to express themselves. So the person grew up knowing more like, okay, there's no such, and then today they come across you or they bump onto you. You can't accept that person to kind of like accept so easy. You first have to put some info into that person so that person will tend to know or tend to learn that no, this thing really exists and it's here within us, so we have to live with it.
Yeah, makes sense. Guys, it has been a very nice conversation. It can just go on and go on and go on and go on, but time is not on our side. But anyways, what would your last words be to, people listening, allies, LGBTQI plus community members, everyone who's just listening? What would your last message be to them?
You are not alone. You matter. But sometimes when you look around, you might feel like you're alone, and there's nobody out there who's like you. But I want to encourage you to know that you are not alone, and there are many of us out there. Just because we're not there with you physically, we exist and you matter. Yeah, that's my message.
Well, I don't have much of a message. I would like to thank you for making this possible and for giving us this platform to be able to share our experiences. And I'm hoping that whoever is listening, they got something educational and that has done something to them. That's all I have to say, I think.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. As for me, like I can just say that guys, more especially LGBTI members out there, just know that you're not alone. And one of the good days will win this battle. One of the good days you won't have to come out of that box called closet. They will just accept you the way you are. And one of the good days, all this hatred and discrimination will be over. Just hanging there for one of the good days. This battle will be over and will win.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. I asked you guys, and you honored my invitation. You got ready, and like that means a lot for me and my listeners. Thank you so much.
No, well done. This is a really
you're
incredible
welcome,
and
dear.
important platform. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well done.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And this is all we have for today. Stay tuned for more of the Evolve Talk.